How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and another review of the Premier League, where me and my brother do go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. Sim slightly in the lead, 247 to 245. The way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man, once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. Let's get into the weekend's action, or the midweek action. Chelsea against Leeds. 2-2. Both of us went for 2-1 to Chelsea. And, you know, look, Chelsea were dominant for a lot of the game. Went 2-0 up. João Pedro carrying on his great form under Liam Rossinho. Cole Palmer, another penalty for him. And, yeah, I don't know what happened, but there was just that moment in the second half where Leeds just seemed to find something and seemed to be able to breach the Chelsea backline, and it was like just that kind of moment. They got 2 goals, and that's all they needed. Yeah, the second goal, the equaliser for Leeds, was an absolute mishap for the Chelsea backline, all over the place. Albeit, was it a handball? Did you see it? I mean, there was a moment where the ball flicked up, I think, on Bogle's arm. He then bundles his way through, and it falls to Okafor to tap in the empty net. The Chelsea players were complaining for a handball. But because he wasn't the goal scorer, I guess they deemed it just accidental and it was play on. I think Chelsea will feel a bit aggrieved with it, but I think in the modern rules, that's if you're not the goal scorer, they let a lot go, it seems, when it comes to handball in that section. But yeah, Chelsea should have won this game. They should have won this game, shouldn't they? 2-0 up, cruising, and they just allowed Leeds back in the game, where they weren't really in it, to be honest, at 2-0. But Leeds just have this bit of belief about them, don't they? They got a lot of fighting spirit. A lot of fighting spirit. As soon as they got that penalty, you just had the feeling they're definitely in this game, like it was far from over, even though Chelsea should have been out of sight. But the talking point, right at the end, that miss from Cole Palmer. Oh, mate. One of the all-time Premier League misses, it's fair to say. And from Cole Palmer as well. You just expect that. Just a little tap and it's a goal. I can't believe what he did. I really could not believe it. Yeah, he looked... Especially as my star man as well. Incredible. Incredible miss inside the 6-yard box. Caicedo puts on a plate for him. He somehow blazed over the bar. That obviously would have given them the win. I don't think it's enough. It was enough of a bad performance by Chelsea to panic anyone. I think they know they should have won. Palmer missed in the last minute. That would have given them 3 points. But as much as it was frustrating, is what it is. Sometimes that happens. For Leeds, though, fantastic battling point. When you're 2-0 down at Stamford Bridge in the relegation fight like they are, to get a point out of it, it's phenomenal. Yeah, that chance was apparently like 0.91 XG or something. Crazy. That must have been the highest XG miss in like Premier League history or something. Must be up there for sure. Yeah. Like mad. Or absolutely mad. Carnu must be up there. Oh, look, yeah. They didn't have XG back then. They didn't have XG, yeah. But keeps them a point behind United, so they would have been in the top 4 if they would have won. That's the thing, both of them slipped up this week, so it was time for one of those teams to really put a marker down to get into that top 4, but wasn't to be. First time Chelsea have dropped points in the Premier League under Rossinho. Yeah. So who do they have in their upcoming games, Chelsea? Burnley at home, and then Arsenal away, and then Villa away. So they got some difficult games coming up now. See what he's made of. Yeah. All right, Everton 1, Bournemouth 2 in this game. Everton went down to 10 men with O'Brien getting sent off after all the goals happened. Njai puts Everton up 1-0 up from the penalty spot in the first half, and then Ryan with another goal, and Adley with the winner. And we can talk about this Adley, man. He seems to be pulling up goal contributions every game, as well as Hill. Hill at the back. I mean, he seems to be getting some quite a few assists recently. So I feel like Iraola's just seemed to find something different in these last few weeks with obviously Ryan coming in, and he's been performing over the last 2.5 games. But these players like Adley and Hill, who weren't seeing much football in the first half of the season, have really come in and been really strong for them. Yeah, and I think we said it with Bournemouth and Iraola. When you looked at their results and performances, even in that winless run, they were getting very unlucky in a lot of games, and I don't think they deserve to not win all of those games. That I think it was 11 games that a win before they met Spurs. Sometimes you just need that little bit of luck go your way, that little bit of pressure relieved. That last minute goal from Semenyo has turned the corner for them, and now they're on great form. It's always Tottenham, isn't it? Yeah, always Tottenham to give someone a boost. We're not the first team to get a boost from playing Tottenham. Ryan has come in, two goals and an assist.
in his first 3 games. Phenomenal from him. He looks like a real gem. And Adley obviously came from Leverkusen, didn't he? And he was quite good for them, I thought. So I thought that was a good signing. It took him a while to acclimatise to the Premier League, but brilliant. And obviously Krupi's been doing well. And they turned it around. The first half, Everton were on top and they could have been further ahead. They didn't kill them, and with Bournemouth, they're never out of the game. You've got to kill them when you get the chance, because they always find a moment where they're dominant and on top, and they did that in this game. They got the 2 goals and Everton just fell apart a bit, and Iraola now going from hurtling towards relegation to all of a sudden ascending towards European spots. Now only 3 points off Brentford in 7th, 5 points off Liverpool, so they're looking up rather than down.
Yeah, they are. Great run of form for Bournemouth, and they just look good. They look comfortable in what they're trying to do, and like I mentioned, the new players have really given them a kind of lease of life going in to this stage of the season. But Everton, man, when are we going to start talking about the Hill Dickinson Stadium and the form there? Because it started off really well for them, and then obviously Spurs went there and won 3-0. And ever since then, it's been really bad. And I'm looking at, they've picked up 16 points from 13 games. They've got a -2 goal difference there. I don't understand how it's got so bad.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Usually, actually, teams sometimes when they go to a new stadium get off to a poor start, and it takes a while to acclimatise, and then they improve once they get settled. But for Everton, seems as though they've had a really good start. Maybe it was just the new surroundings giving that little bit of a booster at the moment. I think it goes down to how Moyes sets up and plays, to be honest. I think he's just not the most adventurous manager, and I think in home games they don't really dominate as much.
But they've always been like that. And Goodison, they've always been strong at Goodison. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, he did have a good home record at Goodison. It was always a tough place to go, but obviously the players they have is not as good as it was back then, was it? They had some serious talent. Now, I think their squad is nowhere near the strength. It's not a bad squad, but it's nowhere near what it was when they were challenging for Europe back then. I actually think Moyes is doing a good job. But yeah, they are having struggles at the Hill Dickinson. It's hard to say exactly why, but they're 14th in the home table, so that's something Moyes knows he has to address.
Yeah, and away from home, they've got the same points away from home as Manchester City.
Wow.
How mad is that?
Maybe again because of how they play.
Yeah, same points, 1 point below Chelsea and Villa, who sit in 2nd and 3rd in the away table.
5th in the away table.
Unbelievable, that kind of dynamic in Everton's season. But could they make a push for Europe this season?
Well, they're there at the moment. I think Grealish being out of it is a big miss for them. He's out for the rest of the season, isn't he? So I think if he was fit, I would have given him a fighting chance. With him not being fit, I think they're just going to drop too many points. They're going to lack creativity in too many games.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2. You went for 2-1, I went for 2-2. Game which ended up being Thomas Frank's last game in charge of Tottenham, as he got sacked the day after. Shocking performance from Spurs. I thought first half, lucky to be only 1-0 down, had that goal ruled out for offside of the most minuscules of offside, but look, it could have been 3, 4, whatever. It was very lucky. And then Spurs kind of got into the game a little bit, got that goal, and you're thinking, all right, Tottenham have been a lot better in second half, maybe we can keep this pressure on. But as soon as we scored, they went up the other end and conceded, because it was actually funny, because Spurs, we scored that goal and then we were on the counter-attack. The move breaks down with a poor touch from Conor Gallagher, and then they just go up the other end and score. That was it. Game done after that.
Yeah, it was just a bit hound's your luck at that point for Thomas Frank, and this turned out to be Thomas Frank's swan song, his last ever game as Tottenham manager, as he was sacked in the morning of the day after. Spurs have now instilled Igor Tudor as an interim till the end of the season. I think everyone felt, to be fair, it's been like that for a lot of games, but they've made the decision, it's fair to say, after this one. I don't think this was worse than a lot of other games we've seen recently, like West Ham and other times that we've ended up losing at home with really poor first halves. But it's like this was just a step too far. This was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I think the first half was on par with those kind of performances. I just think second half we improved a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just as bad as a lot of, maybe a bit worse, but it was probably just as bad as a lot of things. But I'm saying it was just probably the straw that broke the camel's back, wasn't it, when it came to performance?
I don't even think it was the performance as such. I think it's what it represented and what actually happened on the day with, obviously we'll get into West Ham, Manchester United next, but at some point in the game, Spurs were 3 points above the relegation zone. And I think that was the moment where they decided, you know what, we got to cut ties here.
We knew that Frank was on borrowed time, didn't we? It was tough after that West Ham game, especially to see him lasting the season, and because there was already significant doubts at that point whether he should be the manager. They somehow gave him a stay of execution, and it almost felt like after that one more defeat and he's gone, and that's exactly what happened. And you're playing against a struggling Newcastle team coming into this with 2 wins away from home all season, and you think this is a good chance to get a result, pull out a result out of the bag, and we just weren't able to do it. And the embarrassing thing was we were just so clearly second best. And I know Newcastle were a good team, and under Eddie Howe, they are a good team despite the form that they play in, and they're always tough to play against. But given that their lack of confidence away from home, you think once we get back to 1-1, surely we've got some momentum, and it just never happened, and they got the goal quickly, and then it all spiraled. So I think it's obviously the right decision. We've been saying it for a long time. He needs to go. He's not the right fit for Tottenham. They finally pulled the trigger. The problem is, have they done it too late? 12 games to go, 5 points outside the relegation zone. Yes, we're still in a position where we're probably not favourites to go down, but you would say right now the momentum is not with us, it's with other teams. We're 2 wins in 17. We're in a massive injury crisis. We just got another ACL in this game with Odegaard. So when you're looking at which team's in the worst position in terms of squad-wise and momentum, definitely we're there. We are in that worst position, but thankfully in the league table it's still 5 points thanks to that equaliser from United. So we've given ourselves a good chance to stay up, but we still give ourselves some work to do. And if we made this decision earlier, could we have bought ourselves a couple wins from somewhere and maybe relieve the pressure? Do those West Ham and Burnley results turn from losses 1 point to 4 points or 5 or 6 points?
Yeah.
And it's very possible that would have been the case. So we've definitely left this too late. It should have been done a while ago. And now we've kind of done it out of desperation. And time will see if Igor Tudor can get the job done, and he's got a track record of coming in, making instant impacts, and that's exactly what we're going to need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're looking at the relegation battle: West Ham on 24, Forest on 27, Tottenham on 29, Leeds on 30. I guess you've got to put Brighton in there now on 31, Palace on 32. I mean, I can keep going, but who's your money on to go down? Because it's like it's a really tough call, isn't it?
It's a very tough call. I kind of feel like West Ham are going to save themselves.
They're the ones on the best form right now.
Yeah, and I think, with Bowen, Somerville, they're flying at the moment. There seems to be belief there.
Yeah, so West Ham, I mean, there's belief there, and they're kind of doing really well. Forest have just got a new manager, so you don't know what's going to go on. Tottenham have just got a new manager. You don't know. Leeds have the ability to pull out results. Brighton, I don't know. Brighton are looking a bit precarious at the moment.
Oh yeah. No wins in 13, I think it is for them. So long winless streak. Palace are not out of it just yet. Albeit they were 2-0, we'll get into them. My money is on... I think the weakest out of the squad is Leeds, but they just seem to have that belief that they're staying up, and they keep picking up results. I've got a feeling it might be Forest, You can't...
Even with the new manager.
You can't get 4 managers in a season, surely, and stay in the division. It's never happened before. And is there signs of the squad, a few... not pulling together and all that kind of stuff. Deitch, they're going in another direction with Deitch gone. I kind of feeling it might be Forest. I feel like West Ham might have enough. But
what a turn of events that would be. Look, we'll get into Forest when we speak about Forest. But let's go to West Ham 1, Manchester United 1. We both went for 1-1. And
called it.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought this was going to be a struggle for Manchester United, not just because of like West Ham and their good form right now, but I think these are the type of teams that Manchester United are going to struggle against with the way I've seen them playing so far. So I think it's all very well and good them coming up against the Arsenals and the Man Cities that are going to press them and they can hit them on the counter-attack with the devastating players that they do have. But I just feel like they've got an inability to really pick that lock and dominate possession and go at teams that way. And I think that's what really told in this game, to be honest. West Ham go 1-0 up, and it took for a last-minute goal for Manchester United. Brilliant goal from Benjamin Sesko in the 6th minute of stoppage time. But Man U really did struggle to break West Ham down.
Yeah, it was. And the United Strand fails to get another time to get his hair cut.
He did this whole big thing with a watch-along and everything.
He thought it was going to happen, didn't he? And West Ham were well worth the point. In fact, they probably should have gotten 3. They were the ones who looked more likely, who had control of the game, and it wasn't a massive surprise when they did take the lead. Man United, to be fair to them, did push. They had a goal ruled out for offside, didn't they, with the finest of margins, and then they did score late on, so they probably would feel like they deserved the point, given how they made a late rally and they did end up getting a goal. Phenomenal finish from Sesko. But I think, again, for West Ham, similar to what I said after the Chelsea game, it just gives them more belief that they really have turned a corner and they're playing well, because they were a minute away in this game, a minute away against Chelsea from getting something out of that game as well. So I think that despite the setback of not winning the game, I almost feel like the way they played and the fact they did get something out of the game will fuel the belief within that dressing room that they are onto something. They really have turned a corner. It's now 5 games in a row, 3 wins, a draw and a defeat. And even in those other 2 games, there were a lot of positives to take. So I think West Ham are looking like they might be saving themselves. Nuno seems to have found a formula. I think Castellanos looks like he's doing a decent job. Somerville's found a new level. Adama Traore, he came on and looked a bit threatening as well. And if they can get him playing, Nuno knows him very well. So I think at the moment, West Ham will feel confident.
How many wins do you think West Ham need to be safe?
To guarantee safety, you're probably looking at 5 wins.
See, I know they're on a really good run of form right now, but I mean, they've got hard games coming up. They've got an informed Bournemouth next, then Liverpool away, Fulham away, Man City at home, Villa away. That's their next 5 games.
Yeah, but they just nearly beat. They were 2-0 up against Chelsea and they 1-0 up against West Ham.
I know.
Against United. So they'll look at those hard games and think, can we get something out of them?
Yeah, for sure. I think they'll back themselves to get something out of them, but will they actually get something out of them?
Yeah. I think Villa they will. What the
Villa,
other ones?
at Villa Park?
Yeah. I think they will. Villa were lost at home to Brentford. They're not in the greatest of forms.
But this is 5 games ago. 5 games away, that. Bournemouth at home, I think they get something out of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they go to Anfield and win.
Yeah, maybe not.
Fulham away is a difficult game.
Yeah, they can get something out of it.
City at home.
Yeah, probably not.
And Villa away.
Yeah, I think they can get something out of that one. I really do.
Do you think it's going to go to the wire with West Ham? Because if it does go to the wire, they play Leeds last game of the season.
I think all of us, there's a good chance it goes down to the wire. Goes down to the last few games. I don't think it's like last season where anyone's up by April.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to be looking over their shoulder here.
All right. Let's go to Villa against Brighton. Villa 1, Brighton 0. Villa winning the game. A very late winner for Villa with a Jack Hinchelwood own goal. To be honest, I didn't see much of this game, but it didn't look like a classic.
No, it was a very stodgy game. I think both teams didn't. It looked all set for a 0-0. I was watching parts of it, and it looked all set for a 0-0. No one was really creating chances. I don't think Brighton were playing badly, but they weren't creating much. But they were just kind of holding Villa at bay. Villa looked quite stodgy as well. They didn't look like scoring, and they took an own goal from a corner to break the deadlock. And that's sometimes how it happens in football.
Arsenal settings.
Yeah, when it's just like it wasn't one of those games where Villa were knocking on the door and they were destined to score. It kind of just one of those things. It happened and they ended up winning the game. So fair play to them. They needed that win as well. They're not on the best of forms right now, so that goal will help them. 7 points off the top of the league. So are they still looking up? Maybe not. But good win for them.
Yeah, but Brighton,
Hurtzler,
man.
yeah.
Brighton and Hurtzler, what is going on there? We spoke a bit about it last week, but they are on such dreadful form. And this form, if this carries on for much longer, with teams like Leeds picking up points, with potential uptick in form in Tottenham and Forest with new managers, with West Ham with the way they're going, how likely is it that they get dragged right into the thick of this?
Very likely, because they're only a couple points away from Spurs, and Spurs are right in the thick of it. So, look, they're how many points now? 7 points. So they're getting further and further in. Do I think they'll probably get enough wins between now and the end of the season to stem that tide? I probably do. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn it around a bit like Bournemouth, who won horrible form, then turned it around.
But the thing is, like we say about Tottenham, like if we replicate the form of the last 12 games into the next 12 games, they're down. And if Brighton replicate the last 10 games in the next 10 games, it's very likely they could be down.
Absolutely. And they're backing Hurtzler. They're saying he's not in danger of his job, and they think he will be able to turn it around.
Is that a stay of execution?
No, but Brighton do this every year. Every year they do this. Like, they'll have a great start.
No, but they're never this close to the drop.
They're not this close to the drop, but they do this every season. They have a good start to the season. Then they go on these long windless runs and everyone's questioning their managers. And then they come March time, they turn it around again. And I think the same will happen.
All right. This was the blockbuster of the day. Crystal Palace against Burnley, I mean, I couldn't believe it when I was seeing all these goals flying in. Sim went for 1-0, I went for 2-0, both for Palace, and we looked like we were getting at least a point because Palace raced into a 2-0 lead with Strand Larsen getting both goals. Burnley turned it around before half-time, and I was like, what am I witnessing here? I couldn't believe it.
3 goals in 7 minutes.
I know, and that was like Burnley's pretty much only moments of the game as well. Like, for the majority of the game, Palace were pressing and pushing and going for those goals, and they just didn't come. They just couldn't get goals after those 2 Strand Larsen.
Yeah, and I think the big worry for Palace, I think, obviously collapsing like they did, 3 goals in 7 minutes, has got to be a massive concern. But the bigger worry is they had the whole half to create a chance in that second half, and they never really like scoring. Burnley basically had the 3-2 and were like, okay, we're just going to sit back and we're going to soak up the pressure. And I think they looked comfortable for a lot of that half. Like, I didn't think Palace did much, to be honest. Brendan Johnson comes on, not doing much as well.
He's been really poor for them, man.
A lot of the Palace fans saying we've been absolutely done here with the Brendan Johnson signing. But Palace, they looked good early on, and when they raced into that 2-goal lead, Strand Larsen, looking handy. He looked good on his debut as well. And you're thinking, okay, maybe they've turned a corner after beating Brighton. But then to collapse like they did has got to be so frustrating for Glasner. And after it looked like they're getting themselves out of that relegation conversation, with that defeat, all of a sudden, is that still a question? We'll have to wait and see. Will they get enough results? They also got the Conference League to contend with.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to balance that as well. So still not quite there. Again, they need like 2 or 3 wins, and they'll be all right, and they'll probably get them. But as long there's still now 1 win in 13 or 14. So many teams on just winless runs at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, 1 win in 13. So as long as that form continues, there's got to be those lingering worries about relegation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Burnley, though, getting their first win since October.
Wow. And it's a great win. Obviously, I don't think it'll be enough to keep them up. They're still 9 points away from from safety. And look, they could go on a run, but I just don't think it's going to happen for Burnley. And even in this game, 2-0 down, they needed a miracle to turn it around. So I don't think they can rely on that each week.
Yeah. Manchester City 3, Fulham 0. You went for 3-0. I went for 3-2. And look, good win for Man City. It was kind of a blitz in the first half, and it was 3-0 at half-time, and you're thinking, all right, there's no coming back here from Fulham. But it was a kind of a similar theme where there was a big drop-off from Man City in the second half. And you've seen this game on. And if they don't blitz a team in the first half like they did here, I mean, is this sustainable for Man City without them? Because I'm worried about Man City in terms of their form right now, because they're looking good in first halves, but second half they're looking really poor. And they were just lucky that Fulham didn't take advantage of them a little bit in the second half, and it could have very easily been 3-2, to be honest. But in terms of the title race for Man City, obviously it's 4 points now. But I'm looking at this form about how good they are in first halves and how bad they are in second halves. If they don't take advantage of their first half form, I can't see them winning the game in the second half. I know Liverpool was a bit different because they got there in the end in the last minute, but they were lucky in that game.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Why this keeps happening? It's a difficult one to diagnose for Man City, because they look so free-flowing. They're opening teams up at will. And on this occasion it was 3. Against Tottenham it was 2. Not against Liverpool, but so many games they're leading. But a lot of the games, as you say, like Chelsea and Brighton, they only got the 1, and it just wasn't enough to get over the line. Even Tottenham 2 wasn't enough, so they needed 3 in this one to make sure the win was sealed. I think they'll be happy with the fact that they are looking really creative and they are opening up teams like Arsenal. At the moment, we'll get onto Arsenal, but they're not looking the same even in first halves like that. So if you've got that ability to open teams up at will and blitz them in that first half, that's a good thing. That's not a negative. Now, why is there a massive drop-off in these second halves? Is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? It's hard to really put your finger. Is it because they're in the lead and they drop off a bit, and all of a sudden they just invite pressure from the opposition? But then against Liverpool, they weren't in the leads and they still dropped off. So I think it's probably not a mental thing. It might be a physical thing. Are they putting too much into those first halves and trying to give them the best chance of taking all 3 points, and they're taking too much out of them? But then if that is the case, you should be utilising your subs more. You should be adding energy into the team. I don't know. I don't know exactly why it keeps happening, but it has been a constant theme. Obviously, it happened in this game, but they didn't. Fulham weren't good enough to take advantage. Fulham were kept at arm's length just about. I think they needed Donnarumma, didn't they, to make sure it was a clean sheet.
Yeah.
I think that especially late in the game, he had a phenomenal save, didn't he, again? But I think if they can correct it, they've got the tools to go on a long winning run, because they are playing very well, aren't they, when it comes to in first halves. Like in first halves, they're probably the best team in the league currently with how they're playing, how they're just opening teams up at will. Teams can't really handle them. And at the moment, even Arsenal, they're winning, but a lot of the time it's a struggle a bit. But it needs that first set piece to really open the game up. Whereas City are just carving teams open at will at the moment, but then they're letting it slip.
I just feel like this is just like the stodgiest title race in ages, man. Like usually you look at a title race, the two teams up there are just winning game after game after game. Like this year, everyone's just limping, aren't they? Like Arsenal, what have they won 2 games in their last 6 or 7? Man City have won like 2 games in their last 8 or whatever it is. I can't remember the actual figures behind it.
They've won 3 of the last 4.
I think 8. It's like 3 of the last 8 as well, isn't it? But you're looking at the league, nobody is on good form. Apart from Chelsea and Manchester United, who have won 4 out of their last 5, no one is like on this mad run of form, are they?
Yeah, everyone seems to be struggling. I think, again, it goes to the quality of the league. But I think Man City will be encouraged with the fact that they've closed the gap, given that horrid run of form they just went on, and the gap is still 4 points. That will give them encouragement. Obviously, the belief they got from Anfield. I think you saw that in this game, the fact they come flying out the traps and 3-0, had the game done by half-time. Haaland did go off at half-time with a little niggle. Hopefully he's all right.
I think it was just a precaution.
Yeah, it should be. And I think when you're 3-0 up, you have that luxury, don't you? You can take him off and see out the game. But yeah, I wonder what Pep will be thinking. Is it obviously it's a concern, but is it something that can be rectified, or is it something they've just not got an answer to?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just not sure if it's sustainable. If they keep showing this from now to the end of the season, I think it will catch up with them. I really do.
It already has caught up with them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's caught up with them in a sense, but it's also on Sunday. Wasn't it last Sunday? Arsenal went 9 points clear or something, and now it's like 4 points. So even with these kind of tendencies, they've been able to close the gap. Like it's kind of opened and then closed again. But I'm not sure if they're going to be able to completely close it, showing these tendencies.
Yeah, of course, they need to correct it.
Yeah.
But they are, it's not like they're doing it the whole game. So they are doing phenomenally well in the first half. And my point being, in the first half, they're better than anyone. So if they can somehow just manage these second halves, they are definitely in it.
Yeah, true. All right, Nottingham Forest 0, Wolves 0, which ended up being Sean Dyche's last game. Marinakis waiting in the tunnel once again.
With a shotgun.
Yeah, Sim went for 2-0, I went for 1-0, and to be honest, it really should have been. I don't look at this game, obviously the result is a poor result, but I don't look at this game with the way Forest played and the dominance that they had. I don't look at this being like Sean Dyche has got to be sacked off the back of that. And you're looking at the form that they're on, 1 loss in the last 5 or whatever it is. I think it's a bit nuts to sack Sean Dyche, which makes it the 4th full-term manager that they're going to have this season. They had a crazy amount of chances. They had a crazy amount of shots. They dominated this Wolves side. Jose Sarr put in a worldie of a performance, making save after save. Definitely man of the match. They just couldn't find the back of the net.
Yeah, and it's cost Sean Dyche. Before the game, there was a lot of rumours around him being under serious pressure if they did not get a result, and so it's happened, and they literally announced it at midnight after the game, so clearly Marinakis was pissed off, and he was like, maybe could you call it an emotional decision after the game. He did the same for Ange, didn't he? Well, just after kickoff he announced the sacking. After full time against Chelsea he announced the sacking of Ange Postecoglou. I think Nuno as well, he announced his sacking, I think, very quickly after their loss to West Ham. So we know that he's trigger happy, isn't he, Marinakis? He's not afraid to pull that trigger if he feels it's necessary. And Forest, are 3 points off the drop, and he feels like they're too close to comfort. To be fair, they are struggling to score, albeit in this game, was it their fault? No, but in other games, has it been Dyche's fault? Potentially. You could say they are the second lowest scorers in the league. Even Burnley have scored more goals than them. So that is something to look at, to be fair. And why is that? Should Dyche be... Because they do have some decent attackers. Should he be scoring some more goals with them? So there's probably a case there. But when you're in that fight, there's no one better than Deitch. And as you say, he was up for manager of the month in January, so he wasn't doing that badly, was he? And their form isn't terrible. Based off this game, how they didn't win wasn't down to Deitch. So I think sacking him was very much an emotional decision, I feel. And will it cost them? Vitor Pereira's now come in, but not a bad manager. And obviously he kept Wolves safe last season and went on a run of 6 wins in a row. And he did well there before losing his job this season. So apparently they're friends. They worked together at Olympiacos, so he knows him well. Obviously he knew he was friends with Ange, and that's why he appointed him, but then sacked him very quickly. So do they have a better chance of Vitor Pereira than they do of Deitch? I'm not certain.
I have no idea. You have no idea, do you? You need to see how the manager gets on and manages his first few games, and I think it'll come quite evident quite quickly. But I think Marinakis has so handedly screwed this season up. They just needed to stick with Nuno. I think if they stick with Nuno at the beginning, I don't think they're in this position.
Yeah,
I really
if they
don't.
just trust him and back him from the transfer market, they're probably fine. And I don't think they would ever have been as good as last season. I think that was inevitably not going to be as good.
Yeah.
But in terms of this battle for relegation, I think they could have. They don't. Their squad is not bad, man. They could have been in a much different position.
But last season, Nuno achieved so much, and Marinakis started to think that they're better than they actually are, and obviously decided to bring in Ange, and then this, and then that, and yeah, I think Marinakis has just so handedly self-sabotaged their season. And it's funny, like the narrative coming into this season when Nuno was manager, when they were umming and ahhing about sacking Nuno, was that Marinakis sticks with his managers and he's not trigger happy. Well, look at him now. Unbelievable.
Most trigger happy owner in Premier League history.
Yeah, crazy. All right, Sunderland 0, Liverpool 1. Sunderland's first defeat of the season at the Stadium of Light. Virgil van Dijk getting the goal with half an hour to go. I mean, I was watching some of this game, but I had to turn it off, man. It was one of the most boring games of football I have ever seen. Liverpool not doing much, Sunderland not doing much. And yeah, Liverpool just managed to find a goal, really.
Yeah, got over the line at the end of the day. It wasn't the prettiest performance. Sometimes, obviously, we know in the Premier League, you just got to do that. You got to dig in. You got to find a way of getting a result. And they did do that. Goal from a corner, and then were defensively solid. I never really felt like they were going to concede Liverpool. They were pretty comfortable throughout most of the game, and puts them back in a good position when it comes to fighting for that top four. They'll believe they can get it. And sometimes you need somewhat of a result like that and just something to go in and something to turn to get you on some good form. So good win, because going away to Sunderland clearly not easy. So good win for them.
And last but not least, Brentford 1, Arsenal 1. We both went for 2-1 to Arsenal. But look, you got to say, this was a poor performance for Arsenal, really poor under the circumstances. They needed to win to retain that 6-point gap that they had at the top. And they were the second best team, in my opinion. I thought Brentford were the better team. They caught Arsenal out on a number of occasions. Those long throws, which they did score from, were so dangerous. And I thought as well, I found it so funny that the Brentford corners on the day, like they were doing exact Arsenal tactics on Arsenal. And they did not like it one bit. David Raya complaining, all the players to complain. They had a really big chance at the back post with that header, didn't they?
Thiago.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they couldn't. No, it was a defender at the back post from a corner. Janel, I think it was, or someone else. But they had many chances throughout the game, Brentford, that they just didn't capitalise on. And look, Arsenal did have a couple of chances themselves. Declan Rice should have scored, and also Martinelli towards the end could have snatched and grabbed the win for them. But yeah, I think Arsenal fans and Arteta will be really disappointed with the performance and the result, and just the theme that it just keeps carrying on with Arsenal. Like, they just can't take this commanding control of this league. They just can't do it.
Brentford should have won as well.
Yeah.
Brentford should have won. Brentford were the better team throughout the game. They created more chances. They would have won on the front foot for most of the game. Thiago be kicking himself how he didn't end this game with at least one goal, because he had some really presentable chances. But you know what? And also with Brentford, credit to them, because how many times have we seen Arsenal maybe not dominating, but they just get the goal out of nowhere and they take the game from the opposition? And I thought that might happen here, because Brentford were of the better team and on top, and then against run of play, Arsenal get that goal. just off a bit of momentum after the first half, after the second half time, where they looked a lot better coming out. You think, okay, Arsenal are going to go on to win. But Brentford didn't allow that to happen. Their mentality was absolutely brilliant. They kept going forward. They didn't let their heads drop, and they got that goal fairly quickly. And if anything, they should have gotten the winner. And they were so unlucky not to win. I think Arsenal have to thank David Raya and probably some poor finishing for the fact they even got a point out of this game. They should have really lost, and it was really poor from them. Again, is something mentally going on there, because as you say, there's Arsenal really, when you look at how they've played, the team they have, they should be at 10 points clear at the top right now. With the chances they've had to take this title away from Man City, the four Man City have on, the inconsistencies they've shown, Arsenal, they've had so many opportunities to get clear, and then now the gap after, when it all said and done, when Man City are starting to look like turn it on again, the gap is only 4 points, and that has to be a major frustration, because everyone knows it shouldn't be. It should not be 4 points right now. It should be a lot more than that. And they've given Man City a chance. They've left the door open, and I really think that win at Anfield is going to galvanise Man City, and that's like a big moment in the title race, I feel. And if they go to the Etihad with the gap less than what it is now, I think Arsenal might find themselves off the top spot at some point this season. And not to say that means they're going to not go on and win it, but they might find themselves in second place for a game week.
I don't think if that happens, I don't think they have the mental strength to overturn that.
Yeah, at the moment, it seems as though mentally that's still a hurdle they haven't overcome. It seems, because if Man City were that team top of the table right now, and with teams in the past, when they had those opportunities, they would have been 10 points. They would have been 10 points above right now. They wouldn't have allowed the opposition back in it. The only times Man City have actually been in a title race and not won it, and have been in a title race when it's been close, is when Liverpool have just been that good, right? When literally it's been like 90s,
late 90s
like that.
points, yeah.
Like never, and the other times, Man City have just won it by a lot, right? They've won it by big margins. So you just know if Man City were there, they would have made it. They would have made it count. They've never been in a title race when they've only won it by in the 80s and it's been tight. It's never happened. So I think Arsenal clearly on that level when it comes to mentality. But again, they've never won the league before in recent years. So I think that's probably why. I think there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure. It gets into their heads. And we saw them play yesterday. It wasn't good. And maybe it's playing after Man City. It puts extra pressure on them potentially.
I think there's definitely a case for that.
Before, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely a case for that. But I also think another aspect that we're not looking at in the last 4 games is the importance of Kai Havertz to Arsenal, because he's come in the last 2 games and he's played the number 10, Odegaard and Eze on the bench, and I feel like he's the guy that's been making them tick over the last couple of weeks. 3-0 and 4-0 in their past 2 performances with Kai Havertz on the pitch. The game before that against Manchester United, no Kai Havertz last night. He's out for the next 3 to 4 weeks with, I think, a hamstring injury. Some big miss for them. He seems to be the one that makes them tick.
Yeah, and Gyökeres he's just not that good. In terms of how he affects Arsenal's gameplay, yes, he sometimes gets in good positions, but his finishing's been fairly erratic actually, and his overall play is astonishingly bad. I can't believe how bad it is, to be honest. He's actually quite easy to deal with, it seems, and I'm shocked. I thought he was going to be a lot better than he has been, and they are not the same team. It really affects them, and it goes to show, I think, once Havertz comes back fit, he will be in the team. So,
but he's not been playing in 9 on his team. He's been playing behind the striker, in the 10 position.
He should be in 9 though. He should be. I think obviously he's out for the next month. And it's, I think he really is. He's very important to their attack, because their attack just hasn't been doing it. I know Madueke got his goal, but they just haven't. If you compare how they attack and Man City, it's night and day. Yeah, it's night and day.
And big games coming up for Arsenal now. They go to Wolves away, which should be 3 points, but then
gives them a chance to build a lead, even though City will have a game in hand.
Yeah, and then it goes to the North London derby, Spurs with a new manager, and the Chelsea game as well.
So big 3 games. Big 3 games.
All right, Star Men. It was a blockbuster this week. Sim had Strand Larsen with 2 goals, still found himself on the losing side. And I had Cole Palmer, which should be bloody 2 goals, but it's only 1 goal and 1 assist. And Sim has taken his biggest lead probably in the last couple of years.
14 points.
273 to 259. Do you have the mentality?
Absolutely.
You're not going to Arsenal it up?
No, no chance. No chance. I've got the lead, I'm going to stick it. I've got to keep it. It's
Yeah.
actually going to grow. It's going to grow.
It might grow for a bit, but I think you have a tendency to bottle it in this Predict the Prem.
Not going to happen this time.
Not this
Not this
time.
time.
All right, we'll see what happens. But let us know your thoughts on the games in the comment section below. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Bit of a break this weekend for FA Cup weekend, but we'll see you again next weekend.